Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to today's episode of Modesty's Property Corner. I am your man, Ikenna Umezidike. Yes, it's midweek again, it's Wednesday again. We are all here once again, gathering here to learn more about properties and mortgages, and this is your current plug for anything property education. This is coming to you via our Facebook and Instagram live platforms. Modesty Property Consultants. We are a sales and lettings agency business based in Luton in United Kingdom, offering sales and lettings of properties to landlords and vendors as well. So we try to give everybody a home as much as possible, and then apart from that as well, we also offer mortgage services via our mortgage partners called the Independent Mortgage and Loan Company. By the way, I am also a mortgage advisor with Independent Mortgage and Loan Company. So, which is why I have taken it upon myself to educate my clients and my fans and everyone who I'm in love with and who is in love with me, who loves what I do and I love what they do, just making sure that we get this knowledge shared around as much as possible. So how are you doing today? I hope you're all doing very, very well. So today we're going to continue from what we where we stopped last week. Last week we embarked on what we call the new UK Property Investors Guide. The intention was to help educate and guide people who are new to the UK property investment platform or in the UK property investment world, just to make sure that they don't make common mistakes that new investors make. So whether you're buying your first property this year or you've got a couple already, right, and you need a little bit more guidance and information around property investment, this is for you. So don't be greedy. Make sure you invite your friends and share this video with as many people as possible who would want to hear what you are just hearing and who would want to benefit from this knowledge. So, starting from where we stopped last week, today we are going to start with talking about structure. Okay, when we say structure, it means the structure that you want to put in place when you're buying a property. Therefore, there are different ways you could buy a property. You can buy a property in your individual name. You can buy a property using a limited company. You can buy a property for investment using what we call an SPV, a special purpose vehicle. So I'm going to explain to you the difference in these methods and these structures. So first of all, if we start with individual, there are people who buy properties in their individual names. And if you buy a property in your individual name, there is nothing wrong with that. It simply means that you own the property is in your name. You are the entity that owns the property. So every deposit comes from your pocket, you buy the property, it's in your individual name. So there is no separation between you and the property. You are the property is you. That's your business, that's your investment. Okay, so if you buy a property in your individual name, one of the advantages of that is basically the interest rate on mortgages for individuals is usually very low, especially now that interest rates are very low. So individual properties bought in individual names for investment purposes, you will enjoy very good rates from lenders. But then you have to take care of the tax also, because then you will have to submit your tax return in your individual name, and the income from that property forms part of your overall income. So when you're doing your tax return, after reporting whatever it is you have earned from your other sources of income, you're also required to report your income from UK properties and land. And that's in your individual name, and that's going to go onto your tax return. And if the income from there adds to your income from other sources and it takes you above a certain tax threshold, you will pay the tax that is applicable to that tax threshold, because that is where your income is basically. So if you are earning say £40,000, if you are earning say £30,000 in your normal job, and then your property income gives you under £15,000, you're now earning £45,000. So if the tax threshold applicable to £45,000 earners will be applicable to you, that's basically the tax implication of that. When you buy properties in your name, inheritance tax as well, it means that property becomes part of your estate. So you own the property. If you die, your loved ones and the beneficiaries, they will benefit from that, right? They will take that property and it becomes their inheritance. And then inheritance tax becomes payable on that property, and it will directly apply to you, especially if that property is part of your estate, if it's not put in trust or anything. So the other thing, the other way you can buy a property is through a limited company. You know, if you're trading in any limited company, let's say you own a shop, and you want to use that limited company name to buy a property, you can basically. The only thing there is that you have limited options in terms of lenders who will be happy to lend to you in a limited company name, just like any other trading business. There are a few lenders out there who are happy to lend to trading companies in limited company name, while some lenders will not want to lend to trading companies in that limited company name because they see it as a higher risk. The other way you can buy property is what we call SPV, special purpose vehicle. It's a limited company that is set up specifically for the purpose of property purchase. So you set up that company on company's house, and when you're setting up a company on company's house, you'll be asked, what does the business do? So the codes you are going to choose from that company's house has to be directly related to properties business. That makes it a special purpose vehicle. It means that property is investing in it means that company is investing in properties only, and they don't do anything else. So if you have an SPV, you will have more options in terms of lenders to lend you money than if you do not have an SPV, than if you have just in a trading limited company, because these lenders, they view SPVs as being of a lesser risk than limited companies trading in other things. You know, it gives the lender more clarity and more confidence and makes them more relaxed when this business is purely a properties business. So it's not mixed up with any other risk associated with other businesses. Interest rates on limited companies and SPVs are usually higher than that of individuals. So if you're buying a limited company or SPV, expect to pay more in interest rates, because the risks to the lender is assumed to be higher than, you know, if you're buying in your individual name. Because then lenders, if you're buying a limited company name, your liability is limited as far as the company is concerned. So the company can fold up any day and the lender will be out of pocket. And which is why a lot of lenders now ask directors to sign a guarantorship form that they are going to be guaranteeing that they will take up the debt in that company if that company fails to pay the mortgages. So it's called a PG, right? So that's with limited companies and SPVs as well. You have more paperwork to do, because then you have to submit tax returns for the company. I have to submit tax returns for your individual finances as well. If you have taken income from that property business, you will submit a tax return for the company and submit tax return, you know, for your own personal income as well. So you have more paperwork to do. And or also for limited companies, you have your accountants to deal with, you have, you know, to keep records. So there's a little bit of admin work to be done if you're doing it on a limited company basis. But limited companies and, you know, like SPVs as well, they have, you know, certain tax advantages and other advantages that people can take advantage of when they invest through SPVs. For example, if you as a director loans the money to the SPV, to the company that bought the property, the company is now owing you, the director, because you and the company are different entities. So the company is now owing you. You can also get that money back from the company, because the company will pay you back the money you have given to them. So it's a director's loan. The deposit used in purchasing that property by the company can be treated as a director's loan. So you can claim that director's loan back from the company whenever you wish. So practically you can take the deposit back from the company and put it back in your pocket, and then the company can stand on their own, because that is what it is. The company owns the property, and then you own the company. So you are a shareholder in the company and a director at the same time. So you don't own the property. The company owns the property. The property becomes an asset of the company. So on a later date, we're going to spend more time talking about, buying properties in different structures. I just wanted to give you a hint as somebody, if you're fresh in the property investment world in the UK, that these are options available in terms of structures that you can buy properties with. So you can buy an individual name, you can buy a limited company, you can buy through an SPV. The other thing we want to talk about is finance. How do you finance your property investment deals in the UK as a new investor? The most common one is mortgages. So it's very simple. You are leveraging on other people's money to invest in properties, and that's one of the best ways to invest, really. If you are leveraging on other people's money, it simply means that you are using other people's money to boost your chances of getting your property investment off the ground. Because even if you have the money to buy the properties, imagine what you could do if you could spread the money you have across different properties, and then use other people's money to supplement that. It gives you more capacity. For example, if you have £100,000, you might want to go out and buy £100,000 property in cash, or you might decide to take a mortgage. And if we work on the basis of 25% deposits minimum, how many 25% can you get out of 100,000? You can get at least £25,000 into 4 places. So without £25,000 into 4 places, you could potentially buy 4 different properties with that £100,000, and putting down 4 different properties worth £100,000 each. So all of a sudden, through a mortgage, you are able to get 4 properties instead of 1 with the £100,000 that you've got. So mortgage means you just go to the bank and your income will be assessed. And when it comes to buy-to-let properties, a lot of there are lenders out there who don't really assess affordability on the basis of what you earn. They will look at the viability of the property. What is the property rental income like? If the numbers add up, they will lend you the money based on the viability of that property, not based on what you are earning as an individual. Okay, it's possible. So there are many other things that lenders will consider when they want to give you a mortgage. So mortgage is one form of property finance that you can consider. The other form is cash. There are certain properties that are not mortgageable. Okay, you can see a lot of those properties maybe at auctions and different other places. Properties that no lender wants to lend against, maybe because the property doesn't have a functional kitchen, or it doesn't have a functional bathroom, or it has some kind of structural defects that the lenders will not want to lend against, because it's a big risk for them unless that thing is fixed. So if you have the cash, you can go in there, get yourself a good bargain for those non-mortgageable properties, and then there you go, you buy your property in cash. So cash is an option. Doesn't mean that cash is evil in terms of buying properties, but there are properties that you can get a better deal if you're a cash buyer. Some property sellers or some vendors or some landlords who want to offload their property portfolios might just display that say want cash buyers only, and that's what they want. So if you are a cash buyer and you've got your cash, you can go in there and buy yourself that property, get yourself a very good deal in cash. Buy it in cash, do it up, get it into a mortgageable condition, and then take out a mortgage on it and take your money out of the property and go and do something else. So that's another option for you. The other way you can finance it is by JV, joint venture. If you've got time and somebody else has got money, the both of you can come together and do a joint venture. The person brings the money, you bring the time, or if you've got the skill and the time and somebody else has got the money, maybe you're a builder or you have very good property knowledge, and this person doesn't have that much knowledge, but they have the money. You can team up and do a joint venture, and then you can finance your deal through that. You decide how you pay yourselves, whether you are going to pay the person a percentage in return for giving you the money, or you're going to split the property, the profit from that deal, whatever proportion you want to split it in, and everybody takes their cut and moves on to the next deal. So many people who haven't got money have financed their deals through a joint venture. You can also finance it through partnership. Partnership is another form of joint venture, but some people they form a partnership, an LLP, a limited liability partnership, just for the purpose of purchasing properties. And as a partner in that business, the company owns the property, and the property investment happens with the structure of the company, but the partners in that business becomes beneficiaries of that, and then it becomes a partnership business, and everybody splits their own cut according to the partnership agreement. You can also finance your deal through investors, right? There are people who have the money. They are called angel investors. They are looking for people who they will lend the money to, people who are knowledgeable and skilled in property investments, and they can sponsor their investments or they can fund their investments. These angel investors abound. If you show yourself as somebody who has good knowledge, who has time, who has skill, and who can demonstrate the ability to return profit on property investments, there are investors lining up to invest money in people like that. So it's another way of financing your deal as somebody who is starting up. Number 3 we're going to be talking about today is sourcing. How do you source these investment properties? In the current property market, it's really difficult, to source properties now, because there's scarcity of properties. Everybody is scrambling for the few properties that are on the market. Last year, in 2021, 1.5 million properties were sold in the UK. It's a record-breaking year. 1.5 million properties were sold in the UK, and this year the prediction is that that level won't be hit, because there's scarcity. Properties are scarce. It looks like all the sales that would have happened, most of them had happened in 2021, and coupled with the rising inflation and the cost of living rising as well in the UK. If you look at the level of inflation and the way prices of goods and services are going up now, the pandemic hasn't helped at all as well, because a lot of goods, there are shortages of goods, of different products, different places, because you talk about shortage of containers, goods, not enough goods that are imported into the UK. You talk about shortage of raw materials. Even producers cannot access raw materials to produce enough for everybody's consumption. You're talking about utility bills, gas and electric. In April now, everybody is dreading April, because it looks like in April, the price of gas and electric is going to go up, and it's going to hit a lot of pockets. So consumer confidence is not exactly very high. It doesn't mean that the property market is dampening. It simply means that there is uncertainty in the market. Nobody knows what it's going to be like. But one sure thing is that there's scarcity. Properties are scarce. Properties are very difficult to come by now. So sourcing properties for investors now is becoming more difficult than it used to be pre-pandemic years. But hey, there are still properties out there that you can source. Number one is you can source those properties through estate agents. Estate agents are always the first port of call for property investors. Go and look up estate agents and see what they've got. Whether they've got properties on display, or they've got properties that they have access to that they haven't brought to the market yet. Property investors call me up every time asking me whether we have properties. Sometimes I'll have access to a property before it even comes to the market. A property investor would have called me and said, I'm looking for something. I say, oh, there's this property that we've got. It's not on the market yet. I don't know if you're interested. Oh, have you got pictures? Send me pictures. I'll send them photos. If they're interested, we do the deal even before the property gets to the market. So if you are an investor, try and establish good relationship with estate agents. You might get yourself good deals. It's always better if before the property even gets to the market, if the estate agent has a good relationship with you, you can strike a deal and then you get that property before somebody else lays their hands on it. Because the moment the property goes out there and it's on the market, it becomes difficult. It becomes a competitive. There's so much competition. You may not even be able to buy that property in the end. Number 2 is sourcers. There are property sourcers, people whose job, whose duty, whose business it is to source for properties. So if you have access to sourcers, try and use property sourcers. They're expensive though sometimes because you got to pay them a finder's fee. When they help you source the property, you pay them a fee for sourcing that property for you. You make sure that the math adds up. If it adds up, then you pay them their fee, you get the property, and the property becomes yours. So property sources are a good source of getting properties for investors as well. How about networking? Find yourself in groups where landlords congregate, where property owners congregate, because that's where you find people who have properties to sell. Whether the networking is face-to-face or online, find yourself in that group. If you're in that community, you will be hearing of landlords who want to maybe reduce their portfolio and they're looking to sell. And as you're having that conversation, you come across that person who says, oh, I'm tired of these properties. I have too many properties. I'm about to retire. I want to shrink my portfolio. That is an indication that they're looking to sell. Follow them up immediately and you might be able to bag yourself some good deals. So people have picked up good property deals from networking. How about auction? If you know about auction is not for everybody. But people have picked up good deals at auctions because they've been there. But before you pick up properties on auction, go and read up about auction and how they work. Know about the implications of securing a property on auction and not paying up. You have limited time to pay up. You have limited time to close the deal. If you do not operate within that limited time and the deadline, you're going to lose a lot of money. Properties on auction, there's a reason that property has come to auction. Find out why it's on auction and make sure that it is something that you are happy with, you can cope with, and you can deal with. Don't just say this property is on auction, oh, it's very cheap, I'm going to buy it, and then you jump into it and then you find out that it's not exactly what you're looking for. So properties on auction are very, very tricky. We're going to talk about properties on auction on a later date as well, but just an idea of, where you can pick up properties as a new investor. So the last but not the least we're going to talk about now is when you find this property, the next thing, and you're happy with that property, the next thing you'll be thinking about is, so what do I do next? You're happy with it, putting an offer. You're putting an offer and then you complete the deal. So make sure you're putting in an offer that is reasonable because, landlords and vendors and estate agents, they don't like time wasters. Okay, especially now that there is so much scarcity of property. A lot of people are even putting offers over and above the asking price. Pre-pandemic, before 2020, most properties were bought and sold below the asking price. But since the pandemic and up till now, most properties now are sold at or above asking prices because there is so much demand for properties now. So before, one of my clients was narrating his experience yesterday. He put in an offer for a property, that was advertised for 245,000, and he put in an offer of 245,500. He's not an investor. This is a residential property. And then the estate agent was talking and said, look, I'm not sure about this offer, but I'm going to put it forward to the owner and see what they say. And then they came back to me and said, look, your offer is too low, see what you can do. And then the guy was now contemplating, said, look, I don't want this property to be downvalued, because when it's downvalued, I'm going to have to go through the same experience I went through in the first place. I had a bad experience in the first place. So While he was dilly-dallying, he then made up his mind to say, okay, I'm going to put in an offer of 250. Let's just go for it. Before he could finish typing the message to put in an offer of 250, an email came from the estate agent saying property is sold. Imagine that. This guy was devastated. You know, he was devastated. He was like, what the hell is going on? He lost the property. So in this environment, it's really tricky. So when you're putting an offer, do your market research and make sure you're not overpricing as well, because it's even more stressful when you put in that hefty offer and the bank comes in, do the evaluation, and they downvalue the property, and you know you are stuck. It's an issue. So, and when you're going to view the property, if you're investing, it's useful to go and view a property with a builder. If you go see the property for the first time, if you like it, go again and view the property again. This time, if you think there are things you would like to change in the property, go with a builder, with the artisan who's going to do that work. Let them give you an idea of what that cost is going to be. So you don't waste too much time in putting an offer. You're putting an offer bearing in mind what works needs to be done on that property. So you make that offer reasonable and make it, put into consideration other things that would be considered, including refurbishment, if there is any refurbishment. And once your offer is accepted, go for it. Do not delay. The more time you waste, the more you risk, losing that property. It's always useful to get a decision in principle from your mortgage advisor before you go to view a property. In fact, now, a lot of estate agents will not even show you the property if you haven't got a decision in principle, because they will want to know that you can borrow if you are going to buy through a mortgage, unless you're not buying through a mortgage. So try and get yourself an agreement in principle from your mortgage advisor before you go to view that property. And when you're going to view that property, if there's need for refurbishment, go with a builder to give you an idea of cost. All right, and visit the property more than once if you intend to buy it, so you can get a good feel of the property and what you want to do with it. Thank you very much for being here today with us, and I hope this has been useful to you. And if it has, please do not forget to follow me on other social media platforms. Modesty Property Consultants, we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram. Go there and follow us, and hopefully we are going to see you very soon. God bless you, and I'm going to see you again next week. On Monday, I'm going to be on our platform, Modesty's Money Masterclass, where we talk about money and we educate you on everything money. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Bye now.